Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, Bill.
We have Peter Kokola back in the chair, ladies and gentlemen.
Back in the house, back in the state.
I got to tell you before we get started, we're not supposed to chit-chat because it's not what the crew likes. But I'll have you know, Peter, that I did a podcast with Jessie, my daughter. I did several of them. Mm-hmm. And she put on the screen the original Rookie.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. I am the Rookie, and she's the original Rookie.
Yeah, exactly. At 17 years old.
Yeah.
All right. So,
hey,
exactly.
Bill, at 17 or 71?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Don't tell me you're too young or too old.
Yeah. All right. We are at episode number 272. Today, I'd like to probably say this episode might be more for me than the listeners.
Really?
But yeah, this is something I've been sitting on for about a month, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 2 months, month and a half. And I brought it up to my coaching clients, and they were enamored by it. But I haven't done much with it, so here we go. It's making its debut today. Okay.
All right.
We're on the maiden voyage right now. So here we go.
Okay.
6 core, this is the title, 6 core achievement and influential roles in creative real estate to be.
Oh my God. Will you say that again? I couldn't follow you. Say that again.
6 core achievement and influential roles in creative real estate to be.
Okay.
Believe it or not, this is the description. Believe it or not, every creative real estate entrepreneur goes through status roles or class roles in positions that are created by a mixture of your inner thoughts plus the environment you are in. And until now, have not been identified or classified classified for clarity, which has made the ladder of success, ladder like a ladder you put on a house.
With a D, not a T, yeah.
Right. The ladder of success, difficult for most. Only because so many enter into real estate entrepreneurship without a map for their desires, needs, and cravings. Therefore, the recognition of the order of magnitude or work that has to be done is very, very often miscalculated, and failure runs rampant. After today's podcast, you will be able to spot the role you are in now, then spot exactly what role you want to be, and have others see you as being that. And once in the desired role, the fulfillment and satisfaction, this fulfillment and satisfaction supersedes all the money and material possessions. So get ready for the performance. I'm sorry, there's an echo and there's some feedback, and I have attention on that, and I keep stumbling on my words. So I'm going to forget about the feedback. So get ready for the performance accomplishment categories so you can find where you are now, then where you can go in the future. And you'll definitely, once you see that, enjoy this fulfillment. This journey of fulfillment is what it is. So it sounds a little profound, but I want you to know once I read it to you, it's a one-page document, okay, and it is unbelievable. I feel like it's a little bit philosophical today, but without this, I think this has been the missing element. It has been for me because I even needed to do this for myself. I had to plot myself on the map.
Are you talking like, I'm trying to follow, I know you'll explain it. Are you talking like a mindset thing or like a who you are thing before you get going?
Who you're being.
Yeah, like your identity and how you present yourself. Yep. All right, because I know some people walk in a room and you go, "Whoa, who's that guy?" And you can, right. And some people walk in a room, they're invisible. Right. Nobody sees them, and they're not there. They're not strong. They're not like believable. They're like, "Who's that? Get out." So, okay, I got you. All right, proceed, Mr. Hawthorne.
So first of all, I want you to know that I put in the chat, or I'm sorry, not in the chat, in the description of where you're either listening to us or watching us. There is a document that has it's called 6 Stages of a Business, is what I'm naming it. Mm-hmm. And they're manifestations of each stage. So like if you're being one thing, then it has certain manifestations. And you'll know that you're being that and you need to change it or not change it, depending on if that's how you want. If you want to be that and you want others to see you that way. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's a link in the chat for that document. I added it to the free stuff page. If you haven't been to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff recently, I have been adding documents there. This is one of them. There's also a new video there. Okay, so go check it out. Also, now that Peter's back, so, welcome, Peter. We missed you. I did anyways. I know that your sabbatical was good because you and I spoke about it, but out of just courtesy for my listeners, I hope your sabbatical was good.
Oh, yes. I met a lot of amazing people, and I met kind of some celebrities down there, and I met 2 daughters of a very, 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 very prominent rich guy and became friends with them.
Well, you got to tell us who that is.
Grant Cardone.
There you go.
Yeah. His daughter, his 9-year-old daughter, is my little friend now. But I guess she's too young to have Facebook, so we couldn't continue the friendship. She left him.
There's some people, Peter, that would think that you're being a pervert right now.
I have a 9-year-old granddaughter, and I said, "Scarlett, how are you doing today?" I have a 9-year-old granddaughter, and I think she felt like I was her grandfather. So that's fine. Very nice.
In any event, I think until further notice, we'll probably go back to our regular schedule at 9:30 on Thursday mornings. I think we're going to change that because Peter talked about that. But for now, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on Thursday mornings. We record. If you go to Facebook or YouTube, you can put comments in there, and we can see them on the screen. So I've kind of tested. I've done a Tuesday night. I've done a Thursday night. I've done Saturday mornings, and I'm not sure what's right and what's wrong. So we're just going to record this way. All right. So enough of that. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you need anything at all, I have any questions about any of this stuff, you go to Flipping Houses for Rookies. Top right-hand side, there's a support ticket, a support button there. You can put a support in there. Also, if you like what we do on this podcast, please give us a testimonial. Either subscribe to the channel you're listening to, or go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, go to testimonials on the top right-hand side and send me a testimonial on my page. I'm close to 100, Peter. I've been working at it for a while, and I want to get over 100 testimonials on there. So if you can go do that, that would be great. And the last thing is I kind of have a weird announcement to make. And I think it's weird because I should have known this, but it was brought to my attention that we were not on Spotify. And it was just a setting in our system that Emma missed. So as of about a month ago, we're on Spotify. So I don't know where you listen to us, but we're on Spotify if that makes it easier for you. So, all right. So today's talk is not supposed to be empirical or monumental. But I think if you use it, it could become a new industry standard. It is what I would consider the framework for real estate entrepreneur success and its statuses. Not just for for him or her to see and feel good about, but for those around the investor. And they notice it by just seeing them or watching them. Like you said, somebody walks in the room, right? And it has a side effect, though. And the side effect is, so it's not just like, you notice this is where I'm at and this is who I am being, right? Yeah. And others around you, I mean, you know this, Peter, as well as I do. When we talk about real estate, I mean, we go into other groups, we do seminars and stuff like that. Like what happens when I'm there?
Well, you wind up helping the guy. You wind up being like not the guy in the audience. You wind up being the guy sitting next to the guy. I mean, that even happened to me. The actually first paid seminar I went to was a little weekend thing. And within half a day, the guy wanted me to come back and sing a song on my guitar. He was doing things that I was asking him to do, like, would you please give more examples and explain things? Or if there's new words for us, would you please just explain what they mean so we don't get lost? And this is for Pita. He was an English hack. But, you or I, we just, I don't know, loud mouths, or we don't sit in the back and hide.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know one event we went to, I remember a couple of years ago, of course, with the pandemic, but I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. So we stand up, we went around the room. It was a training thing. And they wanted a description of who you were. So I was just being me. I was like relaxed and I'm like, oh, this is me. The first break after that, what we have about 10 or 12 people that came up to us and want to know if they can have lunch with us.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's just, so it's one thing that you know who you are. It's another thing when others around you spot it. They identify with you as that thing or that person.
Yeah.
That's big. So not only is that important, but the side effect is it will help the creative real estate entrepreneur guide his or her destination, as well as untangle or debug any barriers while his or her journey is being completed for like personal fulfillment. Right? And this is hard to explain to most people. That's why I don't say it much, because until you've been through it, you just don't know. It's like somebody being in a car accident. It's traumatic and you can explain it, but nobody really knows how it felt. Right? I mean, I'm going through that because I had COVID pneumonia and we were just talking about it. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks in an ICU unit, and I could talk about it, but you don't know what it was like, because that trauma was a personal thing, right? Yep. So, where was I going with that? So, anyways, we'll just leave it at that. I was going somewhere with that, and I kind of lost my train of thought. So, many philosophers before me have talked about be, do, have, right?
Yep, do, have.
One of the first places I remember seeing it was Think and Grow Rich. Right? I mean, that was early 1900s with Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
Right? And they're mostly talking about before you can have, you must do. Right? And before you do, you must be. So it's backwards. So to have something, you have to do something, and to do something, you have to be something. Right? But my question lies in, how do you be, or more important, what are the symptoms of that being so you know you're there? Right?
Yeah, and that's why I say, how does it manifest? Meaning, if you are being a certain thing, how does it show?
Right.
How do you know you're there? How do people respond to you? How does the world react to you?
I mean, I have people in my environment that I'll remain nameless, right? That think they know when they don't. they think they know certain things in their own head.
Yeah.
But then when you ask them to apply something or to perform an activity of that beingness, they flub.
The do doesn't happen.
The do doesn't happen, and the have doesn't happen. Right? So that's what my point is. So you could mock up in your mind that you're Superman, but when you jump off the building, you're not flying.
Don't do it.
You know what I mean? I mean, you could psych yourself up all day long, or not even psych yourself up, actually convince yourself that you are Superman.
Yeah.
But don't try to fly, or don't try to jump in front of a bullet. So how are you certain? What's the quality is it the word I want? Quality checkpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my simple answer is people know you by what you do and have.
Mm.
They know you by your possessions.
Well, that's easy to see.
Right? This, to me, is a reflection of who you are being. I will tell you, and I'm going to get off this in a minute. This is the profound part. In about 2 minutes, this is all going to make sense. Okay? Because we're going to start going through this list that I made, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to understand why I'm writing this. This is very important to me. And I know this is probably a boring podcast, and maybe it won't have a lot of downloads, but I said in the beginning, who's this podcast for, Peter?
You.
Was for me. You. That's right. Yeah.
But can I ask you something to excite people? Yeah. Is this not what enables you to walk into a house, talk to somebody, and they say, I've talked to a few other people, but I think you're my guy. I feel right about you. I believe you. I'm going to hire you. Is that not what makes you stand out? Or the listener, if you can get better at this, stand out to the point that somebody will say, I think I'll go with you, right?
Right. So the side effect of this being what I'm going to talk about is confidence and certainty. Mm. Now, last night we did the Deal Hunting Monthly Mastery, was the first Wednesday of the month. It was your first one, right? Wasn't it spectacular?
It was, it's always fun to see people that I've never seen. I've heard some of the names, but I don't know those folks. And the stuff you threw at them, they were just eating it up.
The success stories at the end were amazing, weren't they?
Oh, well, you have great stuff. I see all your stuff inch by inch as it comes out. But when you throw it at people like here, boom, 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 it bowls them over.
Yeah.
They're just not expecting all that.
Yeah. So last night we were talking about giving offers, and we talked about certainty, and we talked about they're all enamored, I have, I'm like really smart, and I'm not that guy. I'm a dumbass. I'm just a regular guy. You know what I mean? I'm a blue collar regular guy. Mm-hmm. Right. And the difference is just my certainty and my comment and my confidence. The example I gave in last night was this. I just closed the biggest deal I've done in 20 years. Right? I signed a master lease option agreement on a 3-family house, and I gave the guy $100. And I signed a master lease option on 2 houses in Meriden, two-family houses in Meriden. And I gave him $100. The two family houses in Meriden were under one mortgage. That's why we did one lease option. Mm-hmm. So I put $200 into the deal. I sold the 3-family and ended up buying the other 2, and ended up being north of a $350,000 transaction profit. The profit was $350,000, north of $350,000.
Yep.
The guy told me now the magic here is that they were on lease options. So for me to do this, he had to close on these deals. So he signed settlement statements. He had his attorney involved. Everybody saw the numbers.
So did he tweak it all?
No, because of the way I structured the deal. I could tell you how I structured the deal. I don't want to do it today because I don't want to take up too much time on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't greedy. I bribed them with $12,000. I gave him $12,000 in money that I didn't need to give him. And my lawyer's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, you watch. And in the end, my lawyer's like, that was smart. Okay. But my point is this. He told me 3 times in the last month, and he's told me this 3 times in the past, right? 3 or 4 times. He told me 3 times over the last month, I had 5 or 8 people that wanted to do a lease option with me when I was selling this thing, and I knew you were the right guy. He told me, his exact words are, man, you're a stand-up guy. Those were his exact words, like every single time, man, you're a stand-up guy. I can't believe you're doing that. Right? And all it is just honesty. It's just, but to your point, and we're going to carry on, it's this podcast that explains it. This podcast, and it's not me. Every human being on planet Earth can do exactly what I am talking about today. You can be anything you want to be. You can be anyone you want to be. Hell, you can be more than one bees. You can have split personalities and have 2 of them.
Well, we wear many hats.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going back to my notes. My question lies in how do you be, or more important, what does the symptoms of that being look like? How do you know you're being that? And my simple answer is people know you by what you do and have. They know you by your possessions, right? Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a lot of possessions, you're a millionaire. Okay? I'd like to clarify that. So one of the things that I do when I evaluate people around me, because I'm constantly doing that, right? And it's just a second nature of mine, is I'll look at their environment. Like you go into somebody's office, if it's a total mess, that's how they think. Their mind is a mess.
They're disorganized.
Right? If their office is nice and neat, they're organized and they're that person, right? You look at the way they're dressed. My daughter, I remember when my daughter, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I remember when my daughter went to high school, she wore sweatpants to high school. And I flipped out. For hours. I yelled and screamed. And she couldn't understand why. Now she understands why. She's actually an English professor. And I asked her not too long ago, so why don't you wear sweatpants to go to work? And she just looks at me and she gives me the finger.
That a girl, Jess.
Right? All right. So that's important, so your environment has a lot to do with the way you think, the way you are, what you're being, right? Yeah. So this is the reason why. So it reflects on who you want to be and who you want others to see you as, right? So it's not, see, here's the thing. Every human, or almost every human, unless they're not in present time or they're under the gas, they can see when you're fake. So like if you have, here's the thing that always irritates me, and I keep running random here, but it's like the guy has a fancy car, a fancy house, he's got the nice suit, he talks perfectly, all that kind of stuff, right? Got a high paying job, but he's not worth crap because he's buying a fancy car, the fancy house. So the flashy, not that you can't have that, but the flashy, the
exterior,
is
like
not.
show?
Is not a way to evaluate someone. You got to be careful with that. If you want to get a good education on that, read the book "The Millionaire Next Door." I forgot who wrote it. Let me go look.
Is that the millionaire next door that lives in a nice little house and doesn't show off?
Yeah.
Yeah, my father was a barber, and he had a lot of clients, and one of them was the owner of, I think, Ames department stores.
Yeah.
And I think it was regional. It wasn't like, name. It was regional, but the guy drove a little car and he had a little house, and he was like a regular little guy.
Yeah.
Just a nice person. President Truman died in a little house he was born in Ohio.
Yeah. So the book is The Millionaire Next Door: The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealth, written by Thomas J. Stanley and William Danko, Danko. It's an amazing book. Amazing book. Okay, so that will help you with some of the things that I'm talking about. Okay, so I don't have to go through and explain it. So this is the reason why I made this one-page document with the 6 core achievements and influential roles a real estate entrepreneur will manifest. Whether you decide to do this or not, it's natural. It's just a progression of a real estate entrepreneur's career. Okay, so here we go. The name of the document is 6 Core Achievements and Influential Roles in Creative Real Estate to Be, measured in stages or sequence of growth. Stage 1. This is the beginner. And by the way, now that you're back, Peter, I want your help with this because I'm calling them stage 1 to stage 6. I want to actually give them character names.
Oh.
So that they, and I'm not done with this, and that's why I was a little reluctant on releasing this today, but I want to give them character names, like actual beingnesses that you would be. So when later on you're going to be, oh yeah, you're like, Bugs Bunny, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all right. So
Hey, Bill, I smell a contest coming up.
Yeah, right. Stage 1, beginner. Here, the owner spends a lot of time trying to figure things out. There is a lot of attention on making the first deal, not really knowing what a profitable deal really is. In this stage, it is usually just the owner, maybe a virtual assistant. The entrepreneur works long hours and never really checks his or her work for quality control. This stage does not know how to solve common real estate problems, but is hoping to get better.
So that's funny.
So spends a lot of time on education. Now, I want to point out something there. That entire stage has nothing to do with profit. It has nothing to do with consistent income, money now, money monthly, money later. Has nothing to do with any of that. But you got to go through it. So you got to reconcile these things in your head, in your thinking, in your mind. You need to get through it. So how long does it take you to get through that? And I got to tell you that I've had coaching clients. I just signed on a guy. He's been doing it for 2 years, doing just stage 1.
Oh, on his own and here and there?
Well, he's probably, I won't mention, he spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching. And he's stuck in stage 1. Doesn't know that there's 5 other stages. Okay. So
yeah, I know what that's like. I was stuck in stage 1 for 2 weeks.
Stop.
No, I wasn't. And I called you. I said, Bill, what do I do? You said, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. And in 10 days, I called you back. I got a house to look at.
Right.
I didn't make money yet, but I wasn't just going in circles because the training I had was you got to do this, you got to do that. It's a merry-go-round.
Right.
And it's not very merry.
So you bring up a valid point because this lies at the foot of, I forgot the name of the guy that did it, Plato, I think it is, the 80-20 rule.
Oh, yeah. That was an Italian, wasn't it?
Yeah, let me go look.
In the 1800s?
Yeah.
Not Plato then. Cardini. No, I'm making it up. I'm making up Italian names.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I think it was Cardini.
Yeah. Okay. Pareto. Vilfredo Pareto, Pareto.
Yeah.
Okay. He was an Italian economist, discovered this principle in 1897 when he observed that 80% of the land in England and every country he subsequently studied was owned by 20% of the population.
Mm.
So this lands at that. So how do you get through the stages? You get through the stages by doing the 20% that counts.
Now, you're talking about land, but it also extrapolated further that it was like 80% of the work makes you 20% of the money. Well, how'd that go?
Yeah. So anything you do, 20% of your labor or your attention gives you 80% of your results.
Right. So like 80% of your time you're kind of wasting around the cooler and writing notes and
or not even. You're doing things you shouldn't be doing. So in this particular stage 1, you don't know what the 20% is yet. You're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything. You're getting the wrong results.
Yeah.
But you got to get through that to get to stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at stage 2 because it'll help, right?
Sure.
Stage 2. In this step, the entrepreneur has figured out how to do a deal or two, but not how to create consistent monthly income to sustain profit.
Mm-hmm.
In very many cases, the real estate business has monthly expenses, and all the income coming in is just paying those bills. No real profit for the entrepreneur. There is still no organization or administration systems in place, which causes organizational fatigue and at times chaos. There is no or very little quality control.
Mm-hmm.
This is where most of my coaching clients are.
Yeah.
They do a deal or two and they get the taste of, a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 check, and they're like all in.
Yeah.
But they still haven't figured out that 20% yet.
Yep.
Is this making sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Stage 3. The real estate business is now performing multiple deals per month and sustaining between 3 to 10 employees. And those could be virtual assistants, by the way. They don't have to be like full-time employees. There's just 3 to 10 people that are there doing things, putting the transactions together. Yeah. However, the systems that have gotten things this far are strained. So much that customers are noticing.
Wow.
The owner is still learning to establish useful protocols and policies so he or she can manage at a distance. Sometimes they're smooth and sometimes they blow up. The owner can leave for a short period of time, but not long. Income is steady, but profits are not.
Mm-hmm.
Quality control is not fully handled yet, so clients see the mistakes and the problems. This is the stage that most coaching clients or most people that are listening to us don't want to be in. This is what they're trying to prevent. This is why they spend years trying to educate themselves, because they're trying to prevent this step. They're trying to make it so they don't look what they call unprofessional and clients don't see mistakes. When the truth is that quality control is what makes any huge business successful. You could set up systems, like Sean sets up systems for me, and he's really good at that. But he doesn't even think of or know about quality control. So you have a system, and it's going along chukka, 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 like an assembly line. Let's talk about Henry Ford.
Yep.
He's got, which, by the way, while I was ill, I watched a lot of TV, not by choice. I had nothing else to do. It was either that or stare at the ceiling. I tried that. I wasn't conscious enough to read a book, so I didn't read. Okay. So I was watching History Channel. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when FDR was in, which I realized he was a bad guy, FDR. He was, I mean, they talk about some of the things that he did, but how he got there was criminal. I mean,
Hey, Bill, you froze. Bill, you froze, at least for me, just when you described what he was. Did you say turd or what did you say? I didn't hear it.
He was a criminal.
Criminal. Okay.
FDR was a criminal. Yeah. So what happened was he was very democratic, which I didn't even realize that. But, there was a war overseas, right? With Germany and all that kind of stuff was going on. And Americans were like, out of sight, out of mind. We don't want to touch that. So he did nothing about it other than claim on the podium that we're not going to send our sons to war and get killed. So he got elected, right? Mm-hmm. So the irony of it is guys like Pierre DuPont, which is now known as the DuPont Company, and J.P. Morgan funded his campaign to get into presidency. As soon as he became president, 2 weeks after, the first campaign was tear down the banks, and he went after J.P. Morgan. And the guys that put him in, he went after all the titans. He went after J.P. Morgan. He went after DuPont. He went after Ford, Chrysler, and there was one more. Durant, I think, was the other one. And he went after these guys and tore them down because they were big business, and they shouldn't. He just went after them, and he broke them apart. Right? He socially demoralized them, right? And so mostly DuPont was a munitions guy, and I've got a point to this story, so I'll get to it in a minute. But the point, what I'm saying is DuPont was a munitions, which means he built bullets and bombs and missiles, and he was a genius with that stuff. Mm-hmm. So he nicknamed him as a man killer, human killer.
Yeah.
And DuPont didn't like that, so he closed his munition buildings, and he owned this chemical company called DuPont. Well, in a 5-year period, he made that whole business like bigger than the other businesses, because that's what titans do, right?
Yeah. Well,
World War II came along. And it didn't come along, so he was like preaching, we're not going to go to war, and then Pearl Harbor happened. So the announcer says on this show that I'm watching on December 6th, because Pearl Harbor was December 7th or December 6th?
I think 7.
Yeah. On December 6th, the United States was not interested in going to war. On December 8th, they wanted to blow up Japan.
Yep.
Problem was that, and I'm not being political, it's just the truth. Democrats they always have a war, but they're never prepared for it. They don't believe in building up the military. Mm-hmm. In most cases. So there was no military. So now they need to go to war, and there's no military. So the country needs military supplies and doesn't have a way to produce them. So they go through this gamut of places that are trying, like they need tanks, right? And the company that makes tanks promises like 50 tanks in a year, and they need 500. Mm-hmm. Same thing with ships. They needed 500 ships, and it takes 1 year to build one ship. Well, these titans figured out how to do this. Okay.
Yep. So
the point that I'm trying to make here in this long story is that the guy that was in charge of the ships, and I don't remember his name, he worked for GM. Anyways, General Motors, was suggested to go visit Ford, Henry Ford. Now, the Titans all have their secrets and they don't talk to one another. They're all competition until the war, and then they start sharing their secrets. So this guy flies to Henry Ford's factory, and the amazing thing is that they find out that what made Henry Ford so rich is he didn't build his parts in the factory. So he had all these contractors or subcontractors building the parts, like the transmissions and the engines and the drivetrains and all that stuff. And they would ship them to the assembly plant. And the assembly plant just assembled these pre-built parts. Well, they did that with ships too. So they went from building one ship every year to building a ship every 3 days, because they pre-assembled them prior to coming to the assembly line.
Yeah, and that sounds so normal today. Like, oh, what else would you do?
Exactly.
It's like duh. But they were probably before that. They're just sitting there making each little part and taking. But that it just seems it happens all the time now. Assembled in America, made in China. All that stuff. It's so usual now.
So my point in giving this little long dissertation here is that this is your business. This is your real estate business. So your VA, your virtual assistant, is that little plant that's going to build the transmission, right? The other VA is going to build the engine. And then when it comes into your assembly line, right, it's ready to go. And you could do more because you're outsourcing, right? So at stage 2, organizational, it's organizationally fatigued because, first of all, the owner doesn't know what 20% of the work needs to be done and is wasting a lot of money trying to figure it out. And number 2 is trying to build all the parts inside the factory.
Yep.
They're trying to put all the systems in and trying to do all this stuff inside the factory. And that's where Henry Ford leaped above and beyond everything, because he took all that assembly stuff outside of the factory. Is it a bad example, or did I make my point?
No, that's it. I never thought of it that way. So I know you use virtual assistants, and I'm trying to see what me and the wife can do just to get things going. But then that's all in shop. So as much as you can use to automate, to get more support, it makes sense that you could get more done then.
So just listen to this, and then I'm going to move on, because I'm really profound today, okay? And I don't mean to be. It's just I want to make sure that I get this on record and others can listen to it, right? So I get praised at how I do deal structuring and how I do this and how I do that, right? And it's inside I'm chuckling, because really I'm in Henry Ford's factory working on the assembly line. It's like the parts and the pieces are delivered to me, right? Who's freezing, me or you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in and out a little bit. I can't tell.
Okay, so it's okay. So I'm in the factory in the assembly line. The parts and the pieces, the texting was done. The opening call was done. The closing call is prepared. The closing call is like the assembly line. So I have all this information of what they've already said. I have numbers. I have math. I have some idea of what their motivation is. So now all I'm doing is just assembling the data to put a deal together. Okay. In stage 2, that realization hasn't come yet.
Right.
So let's go to stage 3, because I'm talking too much about stage 2. So do you want me to read stage 2 again?
No, 2's okay.
Okay, good. Stage 3. The real estate business is now performing multiple deals per month and sustaining between 3 and 10 employees. However, the systems that have gotten things this far are straining so much that customers are noticing. The owner is still learning to establish useful protocol and policy he or she can manage manage at a distance. Sometimes they're smooth, sometimes they blow up. The owner can leave for a short period of time, but not long. Income is steady, but profits are not. Quality control is not fully handled yet, so clients see the mistakes or problems. So going back to the assembly line, you can put this assembly line that I just talked about for 10 minutes together, but if the car comes out the other end and the engine doesn't start, who checks that? The customer or you? How do you know it was done correctly?
And that's your point. You've been saying, you mentioned this, and then you're saying the quality control is not. Most businesses do not have quality control.
Right.
They might think they do, but no. I mean, I just went through a kitchen renovation where the guys who did the work, they'd leave and they wouldn't do things right, and nobody comes to check. They want me to sign off and pay them. I said, no, let me go look. And like, no, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. They had to send a guy to fix all the things.
So that's what my point is. So that's what my point is. When we're doing a renovation, we're the contractor's quality control, and we should not be.
No, we shouldn't be.
And the difference is do we give them another job or not?
Right.
See, the guys that have good quality control and you walk through and the punch list is done, and to your satisfaction, you're like, oh, and it's impressive.
Well, I don't mind if something may have been forgotten to be done. That's bad enough. But when something isn't done well, it's like that ain't good.
Well,
look at that.
Fix
it. Oh man, not good.
To your point, if something was forgotten, how do they respond? Oh, we'll take care of it right away, or we'll take care of it, and then you got to call them back and say what happened.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So this is important because once you get going, this is how you get deals. They start falling in your lap because people start bragging about you, or not. Stage 4. Stage 4. The systems are, for the most part, doing well. Once in a while, the owner needs to step in and help. The business has become very profitable and can do things without the influence of the owner. Sales, or houses being bought, sales slow on occasion, but there is enough reserve to handle these periods, no problem. The company is able to fund its own deals when needed. The owner has a core group who reports to him or her. There are daily, weekly, and monthly reports sent to the owner per the owner's request. So the owner decides which ones he wants. Here, the owner's attention is always on the future of the business because the business is not pulling his or her attention into its problems. Quality control is good and catches all the group's mistakes and problems before the client sees them.
That sounds pretty good. That's only stage 4.
So here's my point.
Yeah.
This stage 4 is what every entrepreneur in real estate was sold at the seminar, in the book. This was the dream that was sold to them.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it again. The systems are, for the most part, doing well. Once in a while, the owner needs to step in and help. The business has become very profitable and can do things without the influence of the owner. Sales slow on occasion, but there is enough reserve to handle these periods, no problem. The company is able to fund its own deals when needed. The owner has a core group who reports to him or her. There are daily, weekly, and monthly reports sent to the owner per the owner's request. Here, the owner's attention is always on the future of the business because the business is not pulling his or her attention into its problems. Quality control is good and catches all the group's mistakes and problems before the client sees them.
Sounds good.
So here's the thing. That's the promise that was sold to most real estate investors. Didn't talk about stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3.
Nope.
Let's move on to stage 5. Stage 5. The owner has done well and is not needed. So he or she is training a select few of how to run a smooth operation like his or hers. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
He or she spends a lot of time helping others. Owner has valuable assets and plenty of resources to maintain upsets and downturns from the environment. In this stage, the owner believes he or she should give back to the industry. He or she will also help who has helped them in the past and rewards those around him or her. Owner is very happy with life and feels like he or she has made it and is full of life and just wants to give back.
Boy, that's way up there. For us rookies, that's looking kind of high for us.
Now let's look at stage 6.
6. Well, I'm glad there's in 7 and 8. It'd be lofty. 6.
This is the level of philanthropy, giving money. Owner is bigger than his industry at this level. He or she gives back in a big way to mankind. Uses his or her resources to create big effects for the most dynamic results. This level is what changes futures for the better. Here is where churches, communities, towns, etc. are built with ease and organization. In other words, the world changes with folks like this. He or she gives back and rewards anyone who contributes something useful to the cause or the world without regard. Mankind is better because of this level. The biggest things happen for the owner and his interest at this level.
Wow. I get that, but I didn't think what you and I do and the business model would hit that high. But honest to God, I actually experienced that last week. I was in connection with some people, and the amounts of money that they were throwing at worldwide campaigns for drugs, human trafficking, human rights, crime were like staggering. Like how much did that guy just say he was doing? Like, what? That's a successful dude. And I wasn't in the middle of it, but I was on the end seeing it happen. Like, oh boy.
You were in a fundraiser, and they were doing millions of dollars.
They were chunking in chunks of money, and then actually somebody comes in and goes, "I will match the entire amount when it's over."
Yeah.
And Mary's a bookkeeper, and I said, "How much was?" She goes, "That." It was staggering. But there are people who reach that level and who are decent enough not to spin on it, like McDonald Quacky Head. They actually use it like it should be. Anyways, so I'm glad. Okay, 6, I get it.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do, because we did a lot of conversation in between. Because it's a one-page document, I'm going to read stage 1 through stage 6. Just read them so you can get the concept of the difference or the flow.
And we can get that on the website, on the free page stuff.
So if you go to free stuff, or just go in the description of this podcast, and there's a link there. Okay. And you can click on that. It goes to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. Okay?
Yep.
Here we go. Stage 1, beginner. Here, the owner spends a lot of time trying to figure things out. There's a lot of attention on making the first deal, not really knowing what a profitable deal really is. In this stage, it is usually just the owner, maybe a virtual assistant. The entrepreneur works long hours and never really checks his or her work for quality control. This stage does not know how to solve common real estate problems, but is hoping to get there. So spends a lot of time on education. Stage 2. In this step, the entrepreneur has figured out how to do a deal or two, but not how to create consistent monthly income to sustain profit. In very many cases, the real estate business has monthly expenses, and all the income coming in is just paying those bills. No real profit for the entrepreneur. there is still no organization or administration systems in place, which causes organizational fatigue and at times chaos. There is no or very little quality control. Stage 3. The real estate business is now performing multiple deals per month and sustaining between 3 and 10 employees. However, the systems that have gotten things this far are straining. So much the customers are noticing. The owner is still learning to establish useful protocols and policy so he or she can manage at a distance. Sometimes things are smooth and sometimes they blow up. The owner can leave for a short period of time, but not long. Income is steady, but profits are not. Quality control is not fully handled, so clients see the mistakes and problems. Stage 4. The systems are, for the most part, doing well. Once in a while, the owner needs to step in and help. The business has become very profitable and can do things without the influence of the owner. Sales slow on occasion, but there is enough reserve to handle these periods, no problem. The company is also able to fund its own deals when needed. The owner has a core group who reports to him or her. There are daily, weekly, and monthly reports sent to the owner per request of the owner. Here, the owner's attention is always on the future of the business because the business is not pulling his or her attention into its problems. Quality control is doing good and catches all the group's mistakes and problems before the client sees them. Stage 5, the owner has done well and is not needed. So he or she is training a select few on how to run a smooth operation like his or hers. He or she spends a lot of time helping others. Owner has valuable assets and plenty of resources to maintain upset or downturns from the environment. In this stage, the owner believes he or she could give back to the industry or will give back to the industry. He or she also help who has helped them in the past and rewards those around him or her. Owner is very happy with life, feels like he or she has made it, and is full of life and just wants to give back. Stage 6. This is the level of philanthropy, giving money. Owner is bigger than his industry at this time, at this level. He or she gives back in a big way to mankind, using his or her resources to create big effects for the most dynamic results. This level is what changes futures for the better. Here is where churches, communities, towns, etc. are built with ease and organization. In other words, the world changes with folks like this. He or she gives back and rewards anyone who contributes something useful to the cause or the world without regard. Mankind is better because of this level. The biggest things happen for the owner and his interest at this level. So to end off, is it possible you could pick one of these stages where you want to be and act like it?
Well, I certainly see things you would need to do, but before you do that, I guess you'd have to decide you're going to be that guy.
Right. And so suppose you want to be in stage 4, which is, the systems are doing well and, profits are coming in, but you're at stage 1 or stage 2. What do you have to do to get from stage 1 or stage 2 into stage 4?
Well, you're saying we do have to go through the stages. You can't skip them. It just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be years. It could be weeks or months.
Right. But you know what I like most about the what you just did? At least shows you where you're headed so you can push your way through instead of
my point.
It's just, if you don't know where you're going, like George Harrison said, any road will take you there.
Right.
So that's cool. I'll have to go download this and use it.
So I just put this together. I turned it into a podcast because now it's public, and I don't need to keep doing it over and over again. There is a link in the chat where you can go get it. You can download it. It's in the free stuff. It's a 1-page document. You can see it here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's fairly easy to read. I personally believe it's your compass. You could write a business plan based on this because you know what you got to go through now. You're not guessing now. You're not wondering how the business runs. So you can write a business plan, a 1-year or a 3-year business plan or a 5-year business plan based off of these syndromes or these, what is the word I want? I can't think of the word. Symptoms. Right? So I probably bored the hell out of everybody today, but the podcast is now done. I've said what I had to say. And I think that you should take a couple minutes and actually read this document. I would probably read this monthly so you stay in focus and use it as a checking point, like a reality check of where you're at, especially if you're not doing deals. I could tell you the quickest way. I'm gonna leave this as a punchline. I'm gonna tell you how to get through this list quickly.
Yeah.
Talking to new sellers, making offers. You want to go from stage 1 to stage 6 in 6 months? It's possible. What it comes down to is how many new sellers can you talk to and how many offers can you make? That fixes everything in this business. If you don't know how to make an offer, if you start making offers, you'll soon figure it out. You talk to 100 people over the course of a month or 5 years. I promise you, after you've talked to 100 people, you will have some serious skill. You'll have what it takes to be very profitable in this business. Okay? Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to go stage 6, but I know a lot of people that want to get to stage 4, where they could kind of, think of it this way. Phase 1, you're doing the work, and phase 2, you're having somebody else do the work. You could definitely get into some sort of a phase 2 in your business quickly by setting up the tools and the machines to make the offers. That's why I have been pushing software that I don't own, which is the REI Reply system for $50 a month. It does that for you. When you set up because we're actually in our coaching group. We've started a couple weeks ago. It's not a coaching group anymore. It's actually an apprenticeship program. What happens is I've set up a mock REI Reply account. I'm completely funding it. We're in Akron, Ohio, and I think soon going to Alaska.
Alaska?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why in a few minutes. I'll tell you why personally, but I have a guy that's in Alaska that is gung-ho, and I've been kind of thinking about maybe going there. But the point is this. Once you set this thing up, which is not hard to do, a week or two, all you need to worry about is who's answering the texts, who's doing the opening call, and who's doing the closing call. It handles a lot of the minutia for you.
So this is where, you have the Henry Ford thing where.
That's right.
That, the way you explained it, I've heard you talk about these type of things, but related to what we're doing, it's just a different viewpoint for me. Like having some of that done over there so you don't have to do everything because it just takes too much time. It's not a business, it's a job.
So here's what happens. The REI Reply system is the assembly line. So you go in there and the texting's done when you're doing the closing calls, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
The texting's done, the opening call is done, all the marketing is done, all the records, everything's in one spot. So when you open up that customer's record, you look at the timeline and it's all done. But here's the thing. Okay. So here's the thing. I know you froze or I froze. Here's the thing. I tried teaching this to my coaching clients and we got all technical. So what I decided to do is change it. So now what we do in the coaching group is every Monday night, we go into the REI replay system and the marketing campaigns are running. So collectively as a group, we're doing deal hunting and we're doing all these things together. So each week there's an assignment of who does what. So one week, maybe you do texting. So we send out, 50 or 75 texts a day, and you have to go in and respond to the people that answer. So you get used to texting, and all the scripts and everything are in there. So you just gotta, and we train you in the coaching call, like what to do. So before you go off, we say, this is what you got to do. Are you all set? And then one or two people do the opening calls. And then of course I do closing calls and other people do some closing calls. But the point is that everything is recorded and everything's in the system. So now on Monday night, when we do the coaching call, we go through the system, we look at the text, we listen to the opening calls, and we help the person that's actually doing it. And to be honest with you, I have no intention on doing a deal. It's for training purposes only. But we will do deals because that's just what happens.
Well, if you go through the steps, the end step happens. You can't help it.
So here's what happens. Now you're working as a team. All the coaching clients are working together as a team to put a deal together. So when you first start, you don't have to be overwhelmed with setting everything up and getting your business running, doing all the business stuff, setting up all the, the lines and the communication and, all the systems. You don't have to set up all the systems. You just come in and use our system to get used to it. So by the time you get used to doing the texting in other words, think of it this way. You don't have to build the car or know how it works. You just come in and sit in the driver's seat and learn how to drive it. And it's a lot simpler.
Well, that's good education, because I know what it feels like in the beginning. You have like 12 things you think you need to know how to do, and you can't learn 12 things at once.
Right.
And you don't know which one to do first, so you get nothing done. You go in circles. So this way, you just worry about one thing. Like you go to a business, you get hired. All you do is serve the food.
Right.
You don't have to order the food, cook the food, charge them, get the money, cash. You do one thing, get good at it, then do one other thing, get good at that. And then when you're done, like, hey, I can do all the little parts now. And not that you should do the whole thing yourself, but you've seen what it's like to be in a team, and then encourage you to put maybe some kind of a team, get a couple people, do the automation, the reply.
So here's the magic. And then I'm going to get out of here because we're way over time. Here's the magic. When you come into the coaching group now, those deals are mine. We do those deals are mine. And if you got a problem with that, then just don't get involved. Those deals are mine. Because what most people don't realize is once you get a deal, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. Okay. And I'm going to go through all that, Now here's the magic. All these deals that you're going to learn how to do are all virtual deals. So I'm going to teach you in this apprenticeship program, not only how to do a deal, but do it virtually, which means, we sign documents, we have boots on the ground, we do inspections. All this stuff is going to be done in this coaching group, putting deals together. Okay. Now here's the magic. I put together this 14-day email system, which you can find, at flippinghouses4rookies.com/email. It's a 14-day lesson of how to do a deal, start to finish. I also put together, now that's in the email, I put together for the Deal Hunting Monthly Mastery Group, which is $97 a month, I put together for them a checklist of this 14-day system. So here's what you do. When you join coaching now, you get involved in the apprenticeship program and you start watching us do deals. Simultaneously, you go do the 14-day course and start working your own stuff. Start learning how to talk to sellers and working your own stuff in the 14-day program. And by the time you get done with both, you meet together and you feel like you're ready because you practiced with us and you went out and got some of your own experience and you put them together and it works beautifully. It's actually, I don't know of a coaching program like this. And I don't even know how I figured it out, but we figured it out, and that's what's happening. It is incredible. The results I'm getting are unbelievable. Okay, so with that said, I'm not here to pitch that. I'm just saying that this is the most advanced thing that I've done. And you can know where I am on that stages of helping others in stage 5. Okay, and this is what I do. Make sure you check the link in the description for getting this document. Make sure wherever you're listening to us, you subscribe to us. You leave some sort of a review, or go to my website, flippinghousesforrookies.com. Leave us a testimonial on the top right-hand side. If you have questions about anything we talked about, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and click on support. And over and out, Peter, again, thank you. Welcome back.
Nice to be back. Nice to see everybody again.
We had a good time with guest speakers, so I'm not going to drop that out. We will, you and I will just get some guest speakers, and we'll do that. So till the next episode, have a good week.
So long.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.